it goes into what we were talking about a little earlier when it was everyone gets to about this point in the year where in March it's the third month, and every goal we set for January and February, we're supposed to have, like you said, these to-do lists, be crossing off things, and we get to this point and we're like, okay, well, I procrastinated on XYZ. I haven't even bothered looking at this, but I planned on doing it before January ended. And then as you start to recollect yourself and gather your thoughts, if you're not guarding the way you're thinking about these things, that's when that negativity starts to seep in and start to drag you down.
It's always usually once a year. It's like right before summertime. I can almost pinpoint like the month or months when like these thoughts start hitting me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it could be something that I've done for like 11 years. It's like, damn, am I supposed to be doing this? God, am I supposed to be, running my gym? Should I be filming? Should I not be filming? Should I focus more on preaching? Like, I feel like there's 1,000 thoughts that invade my head. And I start trying to focus on all of them instead of like going back to like my Bible. Like, I haven't read my word it's been a minute because I've been so bogged down, with like thoughts like that.
Yeah, I just I opened my Bible for the first time in like it's been like 2 weeks.
Oh, so it's not just me.
Yeah, so we all go through those seasons, and recently I'm in the same boat as you, where like everything you've worked on in the past when you were like being independent, you know that independent mindset. When I say that, independent of the kingdom, like that mindset, reliant on God, where you're seeking His word and your own wisdom, that sense. But like when I was in that independent mindset, it was always, okay, I'm training to do this, so I need to do this, but I'm good at this, so let me do this. And then the ADHD kicks in, and like, oh, okay, if I could do these two things at the same time, why don't I add 4 more things?
I never thought I had ADHD, bro, until like all the thoughts start like coming in. I'm like, oh crap. It's weird because like I'll find myself, I write like to-do lists every day. And before, I used to be really good at like accomplishing those things. But I think what's freaking me out more recently is I'm finding those lists and it's the same stuff written down over and over again, and none of them are crossed off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it goes into what we were talking about a little earlier when it was everyone gets to about this point in the year where in March it's the third month, and every goal we set for January and February, we're supposed to have, like you said, these to-do lists, be crossing off things, and we get to this point and we're like, okay, well, I procrastinated on XYZ. I haven't even bothered looking at this, but I planned on doing it before January ended. And then as you start to recollect yourself and gather your thoughts, if you're not guarding the way you're thinking about these things, that's when that negativity starts to seep in and start to drag you down. And like I was saying, like last week, I let my mind go to a place where I thought I was past, and I had it guarded to the point where I was contemplating quitting work. Like you can ask my one of my very close spiritual friends. His name is Joseph, and like I was texting him before I even I was super late. So like typically when I'm going to work, I show up on time. I'm usually a little bit early. But I have been going through a season where I was showing up tardy like every day. And I'm not talking about like just normal tardy, but I had no motivation to go because I was just thinking about things in the wrong frame of mind. And so like that day, it's 9:00. I was supposed to be there at 6 a.m.
Oh man.
And the night before, I was tallying up all of my debt. So, and I wasn't guarding how I was thinking that. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there teaching and preaching to my fiance, like, hey, we have to think about it this certain way. I'm giving her all the keys because I have the keys in me. It's in here, but yet I didn't apply it to myself. And so as I went to sleep that night, I was just thinking about it completely wrong. Woke up the next morning late, and then it was just a mess. The whole day was all over the place. But I ended up having to like drag my way through that day. It was a miserable day. And then at the evening, I ended up just literally just let go and release Pastor Joseph. He just invited me to his house and we just ate dinner and just ran errands. And
When was this?
This was I want to say it was either last Wednesday or Thursday.
So this is crazy. And actually, I'm going to apologize to you because last week, God put you heavily on my heart. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out why. But then I started, like I said, I started getting wrapped up in my thoughts. But you were popping up in my head constantly last week. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to text him real quick and then I'll get pulled away. You know what? I'm going to shoot him. You know, I'm going to call him. I'm not even going to text him. I'm going to try to call him. As soon as I would try to call you, something else would come up. I'm like, damn. I'm like, all right. So I just kept putting it back. But now I know why. Because to me, I've experienced to where I've gone through some stuff and people are like, yeah, dude, like God kept, telling me to reach out to you and just ask if you're okay, to make sure you're cool. And, I didn't because I'm like, oh, he looks fine. Like, on the outside, like, Chris looks happy. Like, he says he's going through things. I'm like, well, yeah, bro. Like, I'm not going to put on my face. Like, I'm like depression, anxiety, while I'm at church. Like, no, like, I'm going to put my best foot forward and just, do what I got to do. But, like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry, man. Like, I should have hit you up. I should have at least texted you or something. But it's if anything, it's almost reassuring to me now that, like, no, like, if God put someone on my heart and in my head to, like, hey, hit him up. I'm not going to tell you why. I just want you to hit him up. Just text him and see how he's doing, whatever it is. But now I know why.
It's so easy to miss that the Holy Spirit's voice. And I just last week I was I forget which day it was, but I was going to a men's meeting, and like there's this hard drive that I got because I was working on a podcast like close to the end of last year. Mm-hmm. And so the dude who was the head of the podcast lent me his hard drive. It's been sitting on my desk collecting dust because the podcast ended falling out, and we really didn't resume the project after that. And so it was just people were too busy. But it's been sitting on my desk, and like I could hear, like the thought popped in my head. I heard the voice loud and clear, like, you should take it, put it in your backpack. I was packing up my computer to go, and I was like, nah, I haven't touched that thing in months.
What's on the hard drive?
It's there's ended up being a project he really needed to get done on the hard drive, and I still haven't gotten him the hard drive. We've been bouncing back and forth, but like that day, later that night, I got to the meeting, and the meeting concluded. We were walking to our car, and he's like, hey, by the way, do you still have that hard drive I gave you? And I was like, no way. Because it was something as simple as that, where it's like we're always praying and trying to like ask God for a sign, but it's always something simple, and it's usually something where it's like you doubt it immediately. Yeah. And when you doubt it or try, like, you let something else distract you from what you're hearing, that's when whatever effect you could have had goes out the window. And so that's why whenever I'm at church, no matter what I'm going through, I'm at church to put a smile on your face or to talk to someone and just spread love, because I'm not there for me. But we also have to remember and not neglect yourself as well. So it's a balance.
I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
And I think not just for me, but I think for you and for a lot of other people, that I know, is I think that's the hardest part, is especially when we genuinely like care about people, about friendships and, making sure other people are okay. It's someone once told me, like, Coach, like you can't pour from an empty cup. Oh, it was my friend Christina. She's about to get married. And I still remember that night we were here, and she asked me randomly, like, Coach, like, do you ever like, what, I was telling them, like, dude, be careful. Like, don't say negative stuff about yourself like that. Like, well, what positive affirmations do you give yourself? And I was like, this isn't about me. I'm like, I'm not, this isn't about me. They're like, no, Coach, seriously, how do you like positively like affirm yourself, like as a man of God, right? Like, not saying like, oh, I'm big and buff and all this other stuff, but like, how do you, self-affirm yourself? And I was like, and it hit me that I'm like, dang, I don't. Yeah. I never do. I really never do. And they're like, Coach, like, how are you going to pour all this out to people, but you don't even fill yourself back up? And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, okay, tell us one good thing about yourself. And I froze. My mind went like blank. Yeah. It's like how I used to picture purgatory. You're just kind of floating in an empty cloud. I was like, I don't know. They're like, well, what's one thing that you don't think that you're good at? And I started listing all kinds of crazy stuff there. I'm like, I'm not a good enough husband. I'm not a good enough father. I'm a horrible friend. I'm a horrible leader. And they're like, coach. And I'm all like, what? I'm like, those are the things that actually, they're like, no, dude, like, I want you to say, start off with the husband thing. Say you're a good husband. And I'm like,
yeah, you got to flip the thinking on that. Because those statements you were saying are coming from a certain lens and its perspective of negativity. And I get the principle they're trying to get you to do, which is to flip it to the lens of positivity. And so seeing the potential is a good saying. And that is like, so if you're recognizing that you're not a good husband, then to start to, instead of using it as something to hold you down, see it as, okay, how can I be a better husband tomorrow or even today or the next 5 minutes? Like, how can I be more considerate if you're an inconsiderate person?
So I think my question is like, when I get into that mindset that certain time of year, now it's the point where I'm like, oh, it's that time. I'm feeling this way. I'm thinking this way. And then I kind of just get stuck. Like, how do you, like, get past that point without someone to be like, hey, snap out of it?
So when you get stuck in a moment, I feel like it's important to actually be aware of what moment you're actually in and to be present in the now instead of focusing on the future, the past, or whatever. And I say that because that was the way I mentally got out of last week. So thankfully, one of my best friends from college, I haven't seen him since I graduated in December. And he invited me to come out and visit his new apartment in St. George, Utah, of all places. So I ended up Friday morning driving out to Utah.
What?
I was in Utah last weekend. And then I spent Friday evening and then all of Saturday with him, just in Utah. And then early Sunday morning, I hopped in my car, 4 a.m., drove back to California, and was in church by 10. And so, like, but that decompression and being able to just get in nature and see, I went to Zion National Park just to be in that.
No way. How was that?
It was beautiful. It is so beautiful. But, like, just to be in nature and see the way nature praises God in its own unique way, and to just really just sit in that moment, that really like refreshed me. And then when I came to church, people were like, Pastor Joseph, and then also my Uncle Tim, he was like, "You're here? Like, why are you here?" Because I had just told them I'm in Utah. I sent them videos on Saturday, like, hey, but like the Holy Spirit was like, you can go back. And I was like, all right, I'll go back. So
Dang.
I texted my fiance, hey, I'm going to drive back in the morning. I'm used to waking up early. You don't have to worry. Of course she worried. But like, I prayed before I got hit the road, woke up. It was me and my dog, Chico. And we ended up driving back. Yeah, so we made it back. And then, just like we were saying, fast forward to today. What is it, Wednesday? Just last night, I got miraculously blessed with tickets to go to Disney. And so, like, as these things are happening, and I'm counting my blessings and like tallying things, it's a matter of me just focusing on where I'm at. Because I could focus on what I was focusing on a week and a half ago, where it was like, oh my goodness, like I'm in a deep hole financially when it comes to my student loans and the flight loans I've taken, all of these things. And if I focus on that, I'm missing the progress I'm making at work. I'm missing the people I'm helping at church. I'm missing the potential projects I could be working on because I'm sulking in my despair. And so as I'm doing these things, I'm missing the moments that I could be positively moving forward. And then that procrastination effect happens where the projects get pushed back. The people don't get helped that you could have helped today. And that's only because you chose to not guard your mind and guard how you're thinking. So I really let that negativity lens take the forefront instead of the positivity last week.
That's crazy. Okay, so the last time you were here, remember I was telling you that like I started picking stuff apart, right? Like words and letters and how like all of the different like the pictographs in the Hebrew, they all have individual meanings and everything, right? And so I'm like, I'm gonna start picking apart like all of my favorite Bible verses. And then I started doing individual words. So I did it with worry, anxiety type of thing, right? And it must have been like a day or two. And when I pulled it apart, basically what it ends up doing, what the pictures described, is that how did it describe it? That it puts a wall between God's word and you. And when I read that, I was like, oh, dang, that sucks. But now, so even as you're telling me right now, like I'm thinking about everything, I'm like, dude, all these things that I'm worried about, all these things that, and I'm listening to your testimony, your example of how when you kind of flip things, like you kind of like gave that shock to your mind when visited your friend, saw nature, did all these things, and then you're blessed with Disneyland tickets. It's almost like once you're able to like, nah, I'm going to focus on right now, on the present, on the good things, my friend, national park, I'm going to get my mind, back on the right track. You get blessed with Disneyland tickets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the domino effect. You can call it magic. You can call it miracles. You can call it blessings.
Increase.
My chakra line. It doesn't matter what you call it, but when you focus your mind on positive things,
it is real.
Increase in positivity is the result of that. And it's the same way with negativity. When you focus your mind on negative things,
hell yeah,
you start getting cut off more often on the road. I know I keep going back to that, but it happened a lot. and like you start meeting resistance and everything. You're tired. Your health declines. And you're like, why am I getting sick? I wasn't around anyone,
bro, and I just got sick.
But I like, that was the biggest thing that attacked me the beginning of the year. Was I remember I was telling you I had the flu, and then I got COVID, and then when I'd never fully recovered health wise until just now, and we're in March, and that was in January, to where I was bouncing back and forth, and it was just simply a manifestation of me letting because when I got COVID, man, my mind went from the positive. I was like, dang, I started processing things negatively, but also like being like in between, which is never a good spot to be in. And when you're in that in between state, you're never doing enough on both fronts.
Yeah.
And so like, I was always halfway healthy. I wasn't getting back to my full health, but it wasn't until I actually took the time to properly release and then reset myself and then bring my mind back to the day-to-day, like Jesus instructs us to do. Why he always says, don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
When today's enough trouble.
Let tomorrow worry about itself.
Yeah, let tomorrow be tomorrow. Let today be today. And so when I bring my mind back to that frame and I start just seeing the gifts of today in this moment in time, it's like, okay, I can handle today. And I can, and then when tomorrow comes,
that's good.
I can handle tomorrow. And as I keep that frame of mind, things like being able to go to Utah doesn't seem that much more impossible, because when you're looking at a budget, it may not make sense until God miraculously paves the way, because you're not dwelling on the budget. You're thinking about the potential and the what can come of it. And the same thing with the Disney. I wasn't thinking about Disney tickets because they weren't meant for me. They were meant for someone else, and then they weren't able to go, and then it came my way. And so when I could have, because it was my fiance. My fiance and her best friend were going. But at the same time, of course I want to go to Disney. Of course I want to take my fiance to Disney, but it's just, it didn't line up with what I was doing goal-wise, but I was perfectly 100% supportive. Or I could have sat there and just been like, dang, she's going to go to Disney without me. Get into that,
Sound like me.
Yeah. Get into that negative spiel and see where that leads. But I was just like, I'm so happy for you, babe. Go enjoy it. I was planning on taking a nap that evening because I was super tired from work anyway. So I was just going to just chill the rest of the day. But then she texted me and was like, she can't go. You want to go? And I was like,
yeah, I want to go.
But it was an effect of how I was guarding my thoughts, because I could have went the negative route, but I was just like, no, go, babe, have fun. I'm going to focus on my rest, because I haven't been sleeping, all of these things, and the effect is there. And
let's see. I'm pulling up a scripture right now.
Yeah. I've been really focusing on James
Oh man. Okay. So there's a few. Like there's this site called Open Bible, and you can type in any topic, and it'll spit out a bunch of scriptures. Majority of them are closest to like what you might be asking for. And then there's a few that like, oh, that I know that he didn't really write that and pertain to that, but like, so like, let me see. Philippians 4:8, right? Whatever's true, honorable, just, pure, whatever's lovely, commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worth of praise, think about these things, right? Let me see what else. For God gave us a spirit of fear, not of fear. He didn't give us a spirit of fear. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and sound mind.
Yes.
Right? He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. You know, like you said, like being halfway, you know, on both sides. You know, being mindful of your thoughts.
It's in there. The seeds are spread throughout all the books. Jesus spoke it. I mean, Paul spoke it. All his disciples spoke that message, but it was always the same thing. Guard your mind, because it starts here, and this affects this. The way you're thinking affects everything around you, and it's a ripple effect always.
Well, it's weird though, because I noticed like when I got into that funk, I started feeling sick, but not like you know, cough sick, but it's almost like my body felt ill. Not like I'm dying. You know what I mean? I didn't feel physically, my body didn't feel right. You know, like, because for the most part, I could not go to the gym for like 6 months, go back in, hit like 225, 315 on a bench press for reps, right? You know, but last week, if I would have tried to do that, I probably would have died.
Yeah.
You know, I felt physically tired, spiritually tired, probably because I hadn't been reading my Bible, but overall, I just felt depleted, just exhausted. But like, it's crazy to think that something as simple as like the way you think or what you're focusing on in your thoughts can do that. You know, just like completely take over everything. And then, like you said, it has this ripple effect to everything from, you know, your friendships, your business, to your relationship, you know, with your wife, your kids. Like, you know, like I'm looking at all these things from like the past like week or two, and I'm like, damn, dude, like I really let my head run away with me. So how do you, because I know, well, you said you went to Utah, but like going forward, let's say like in 6 months, right, we find ourselves back in this position again to where like our thoughts are starting to run away with us again. What's something that we could do to like, nah, that ain't gonna happen, not this time?
It's
rubber band on the wrist. Bah.
No, it's more or less who you have around you. Because if let's say I was going through what I was going through last week and I wasn't able to go to anyone, imagine how much deeper that pit would have gotten for me. I would have kept digging that pit, because I didn't recognize it until one of my friends, my companions, whoever you want to call them, my support group. It wasn't until one of those members of my support group reached out to me and just was just loving to me. That's what made me realize, oh, what am I doing?
So did you open up about the way you're feeling, or they just noticed that something's wrong with Nehemiah?
It was more or less a combination, because like I wasn't talking how I normally talk. I wasn't communicating how I normally communicate, and then I often don't complain to other people. So whenever I texted him like, hey, I don't even know if I want to go to work today, he knew something was off immediately. So you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I almost never do that when it comes to like complaining over text specifically. I try not to complain at all. But if I'm really out of sorts, I typically don't text it, because why? I'd rather communicate it to whoever's making me out of sorts and have that conversation. But it goes back to what I was saying, where it's like it matters who you have around in your support group. So like I had my best friend Ryan, he invited me out to Utah, and I had maybe $113 in my bank account. That's it. And you know, when you make road trips over 200 miles, you probably shouldn't. You should have a little bit more. But I mean, I threw the situation out of the window and I just went, and it was exactly what I needed. It was a reset. It was a refresh. I was able to catch up with one of my best friends and just honestly just be the not the like be that little kid again.
Yeah.
And so like recently I've been posting a lot about like just don't let that inner kid die, because it's so easy to let that little light that's on the inside burn away. That dreamer that made the plans in January that you're not seeing manifest now is because you let the light get smothered out. And so
by all your worry and fear and everything.
That's what that negativity does. It kills that light on the inside. No wonder you feel sick. No wonder you feel unmotivated and weak. It's because you're not nurturing that light. And that light is the Holy Spirit. It's Jesus. That's love on the inside of everyone, no matter what you want to call it. That little light on the inside, this little light of mine, I want to let it shine. There's a reason they focus on that little light, because that inner child that's in all of us, that's our key to getting into the kingdom of heaven. That's our key to living an abundant life here on earth, walking in our calling. It's to follow that little beacon, that still small voice. And when you focus on those little moments, you start to realize, okay, it's the small things I'm doing that are affecting the big things. Like they say, it takes 21 days to develop a habit. Mm-hmm. I still haven't gotten to the 21 days of reading my Bible consistently every day. But every single time I do open my Bible and I read that word, it resets me.
I know.
My angel punches me in the back of the head. It's like, hey, it's been here the whole time. Like, you know how it is. You get that reset, you get that refresh. And so, like, why wouldn't I read my Bible every morning?
And that's the thing, and we know it. We know it, too.
We know better, yet we still let the outside things steer us off. And that's the test of faith. James talks about it, like the test of your faith creates endurance. Yeah. I believe that's James chapter 1. I don't know the specific verse because I need to read my Bible. but yeah, he's always talking about the test of your faith creates endurance. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, so the next time I go through this trial, I'm going to continue to surround myself with people who are like-minded, who are like me, who are walking similar paths as me. They don't have to be carbon copies of me, but I have a support group. Yeah. And so when I go through this same season 6 months from now, I don't have to fall as deep anymore. I can rely on them because they are walking on the same path as I'm walking. But it's when you start to spread yourself out, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who's going down this path. I have a friend who's high every day. I have a friend who's a workaholic. And you try and rely on them, but they're too busy doing their own selfish thing. It's like, who do you go to? And so, yeah, it really, really matters. That support system is important.
That's crazy, man.
And it's almost like when you like you were apologizing for not reaching out to me, but I'm like, it's perfectly fine because I know you're going through what you were going through. You were going through a season of toughness yourself.
The interesting thing though is, if I would have, to me, it's like it would have been God hitting two birds with one stone. Mm-hmm. Because by you kind of sharing, I know it would have not only, because obviously you ended up, kind of like freeing yourself from that mindset either way, mm-hmm. but it would have helped you by just being able to, like, it's stupid. Like, I'm focusing on A, B, and C. And I probably would have told you exactly what I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, what are you worrying about that? You know what I mean? Like, it would have just, by us talking to each other, and I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm feeling this way. You're like, bro, what did you literally just tell me? It's almost like we both would have instantly just snapped out of it. Yeah. And so it's like now, at least now I know, I'm like, hey, when God puts it on, my heart to reach out to someone, it's usually not just to reach out to them to help them. Chances are it's also something that he knows that I need help with. Mm-hmm. Like, I've noticed that a lot, like more recently, he's doing that to me. It's like he's doing things to where like he's hitting multiple things that I don't just need help with, but that I'm dealing with, that like, no, you're going to help this person. And in turn, it's going to kind of help you solve the issue. It might not even have anything to do with them, but the lesson that you learn by helping them is going to help you solve. It's going to give you the answer to like what you're looking for, you know. But it's crazy because like if you think about it, when we're kind of like wallowing in our own self-pity and fear and worry and doubt and all that other garbage, we don't want to help people.
Yeah, that's
not the first thought that pops into our head. It's like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I can write all this. I'm smart enough. I'm not stupid. I can deal with this on my own. You know, like our last instinct is to be like, let me see who else needs help today. You know, like when I'm going through my crap. But it's crazy because just like that, I know that at least my, Pastor Manos told me, he was like, when you're going through whatever it is you're going through, if you think you've got it bad, go find someone who is in a worse position than you and help them and be there for them and watch what happens. And it's funny because I never truly understood what he meant by that until this moment. Because by us talking right now, it kind of like shed light. I'm like, no, dude, like why did I let all of those thoughts and all that crap just bog me down? It's like literally I'm sitting here and I feel better. You know, it's like remember that day you came and answered, she was like, babe, are you okay? I'm like,
the relaxation hits.
I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Just let me close my eyes and chill in this for a minute. You know, but it's like, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's just, we talk about the Bible a lot, but the Bible's it's the fire, it's the wisdom.
Yeah,
it's the truth. And so, like Jesus said, you reap what you sow. And so, like, when God urges you to help someone or just simply reach out, obviously, if you're doing that out of love, compassion, just being a good friend, that positivity is going to come back to you. The same way you driving aggressive down the street, eventually you're going to get cut off by someone else who's also aggressive.
Yeah.
Or like you talk harshly to some person who's working a customer service job at let's just say like a cafe. You're rude with the barista, and then later down the road someone else is rude with you, and then your feelings get hurt, and then like it's just a ripple effect always. But it's like when you go and you help someone, even if you're not in a good position yourself, you're healing.
Yeah,
you're receiving right back. Because I don't know about you, but whenever I help people and then I see the positive change in their life, or even I just see a smile come on someone's face by me saying like, how's your day? And like just being a good human being and being like, how's your day? Like, oh, I love your pen. Everywhere I go, I'm always pointing out something positive about someone. Oh, I like the way you did your hair. I love that jacket. I love your pen. Your purse is amazing. It may not be my specific style or choice, but it doesn't mean that I can't like value that. And so whenever I say those things to those people and they smile, that's healing to me, because like, okay, I'm making them smile instead of making them frown and get angry at me because I have an attitude, or I'm walking in and my tone was off with that person because I'm thinking about something else. And so like they don't matter to me. And so it's just spreading the love of Christ rather than spreading the despair of me.
It's like that. It's like this quote I heard was that a smile costs nothing, a smile costs nothing, but is valuable to the person that you're giving it to. And I'm like, dang.
Because you don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
You don't know if your one negative comment can set someone over the edge.
Yeah. I've been that person that's been set over the edge.
And it's like, we are all wonderfully, uniquely made by God. So if you wouldn't speak to God that way, why would you speak to someone who's made in His image that way? And when you think about it on that front, okay, if I won't even diss my own earthly father, my father that my actual father, why would I, if I can't say that to God, I can't say it to my dad, why would I say it to someone who is my elder? And that's where the respecting your elder principle comes from, where it's like, okay, this person may not speak proper English, they may not know as much as me, I may have more education to them, but they've been through things I haven't been through.
Yeah.
They're unique in their own way, so I need to treat them with that respect. Or even someone who's younger than me working at McDonald's, just because they are not focused on me and they're ignoring me while I'm sitting there waiting to order, I can either choose to get ticked off and like, excuse me, do you not see me here? Like, you know how people act at McDonald's. I've seen some.
Dude, they go crazy for their food, man.
And it's like, okay, you got to think about what type of environment McDonald's is.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we're all here for fast food. It's not the best food. It's not the healthiest. We're here for one reason. But if someone is distracted by something, you have a choice whether or not to let that disturb your peace. And it's like, how fragile is your peace? And then when that comes to how you structure your thoughts and what you're thinking on. And I forget what I was saying, but I was saying to my fiance, but it's just like, what is your strength? No. How fragile is your peace? Because when it comes to me, I value it up here. This is my peace. I want to maintain it at a high throughout the day.
Am I really gonna let this little thing?
So the pothole that I hit in the road, am I gonna let it chisel down my pillar and it's gonna drop down more? Or can I maintain the strength of that pillar? And then that's when you think about, what are you focusing your mind on? What are you taking in? Are you looking at nonsense all the time? Are you reading wisdom, learning something new? Are you dwelling on negative things rather than positive things? That intake is what determines the strength of your pillar. Your pillar could be made of sand because you're looking at a million things being stretched a million ways and not really focusing on the source, which we all know is Jesus.
Yeah.
And so when we lean on him and let the Holy Spirit be our source, that strength is there. But when we start looking at ourselves, focusing on the finances, all of these minute things that we create into a massive thing. I'm not saying neglect those things, because you can be responsible in those things. But to sit there and worry and be negative on those things, that's what starts chipping away at the strength of your pillar until eventually you're going to topple over one way. And that's why we go through those cycles. But your support system are the beams that are also helping support your pillar. So I like using that pillar analogy because it gives an image. It like creates an image in your mind. You can see yourself as a pillar, but also a pillar has a base. It has something pushing it. There's always something helping the pillar stand. And when the pillar gets weak, you give it support. And so I love analogies. I love imagery. Like, I mean, that's why no wonder I like film.
Yeah. Be mindful of your thoughts. Okay. Star Wars even says it. Your thought, was it? Your thoughts deceive you? Is that what? Your thoughts deceive you, right? We got to be careful, because just like Nehemiah was saying, just like I was saying, like it was literally last week, like he grew up in the church. Like he knows God, like very, very well. Like that's his homie, like I've been saved. I've been in ministry for a little over 10 years now, and so we've been in this for a while, but that doesn't mean that we don't go through our own things. And one of the biggest things, we might not deal with drugs and pornography and all the, stereotypical things that, Christians today go through, but we still go through our own stuff. And a lot of that is the mental battle that we go through. And, takeaways: be mindful of your thoughts. Get in your word. I got to get in my word. He just said he has to get in his word.
Yes.
And we all know this. We know that, like, the minute we open up that Bible, my wife loves to do it to me. Babe, put your finger in the side. You already know he's going to talk to you. I'm like, I know. That's why I don't want to do it, because I know he's going to talk to me, But, like, get in your word. Get in your word. Look for that word that is just waiting there. I tell people all the time, the Bible's the only book that still takes me to school 2,000 years later after it was written, So stay in your word, be mindful of your thoughts, have a great support system. If not, dude, comment on the video and I'll write back to you, whatever it is, like that's why I'm here. That's why we're here. That's why I made this podcast. So not just, to bring God back into the main picture, but, for us as a community to talk to each other, to be there for each other, because just like he was saying, like, as a community, like my pillars, is my wife, my pastor. But those support beams that are giving me extra support are you guys. It's Nehemiah. It's, the people I know at church. It's, all of those, they're just as important as my pillars, because without them, all my wife and everyone else would be shouldering that load. All right. So if you like what you saw today, if we gave you any type of value or if we helped you in any way, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Write in the comments, whether or not it helped you. Write in the comments if there's anything else that you want us to talk about. I have a very strong feeling Nehemiah is going to be a part of a lot more of these videos, because like we thought that we've been talking for like 10 minutes and it's been like 45. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Share this with someone who you think, might find some value in it. God bless you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.